very good afternoon. This is Sandeep Gupta. I've been working as assistant professor with Department of Decision Sciences and Operations Management of School of Management and Entrepreneurship at Shiv Nadar University. The theme of today's discussion is healthcare and medical analytics. Why I picked this particular theme, I think it's pretty simple and obvious to understand. The present time which we have been going through, fighting against COVID-19, and same time our healthcare system is also fighting against various issues related to resource management, like how many PPE kits should be there, how many masks will be there, how to manage the staff, doctors, clinicians, etc. So there are many decision-based issues which need to be tackled, right? So I think it's a right topic to pick at the right time. About the structure of the presentation, in first half of this session, I'll discuss about analytics in general, like why we need analytics, how we define analytics, how analytics has evolved over the years, right? All those things, and what are its applications. So I'll discuss about that. I hope you would have these questions in your mind right now. So these are very relevant questions to discuss about. And in the second half, I'll discuss about its application of analytics to healthcare. So that's the plan for the day. So let's begin the session. As we know, if you talk about the difficulty of taking decisions, if you observe this phenomena over the years, the level of difficulty has increased multiple fold. And the important reason is we are living in VUCA world, right? Which is quite complex. We'll discuss about that. But I'd like to take your views on that, whether you are aware of this terminology, which consists of 4 letters. It's an acronym, VUCA. So if you know what different letters stand for, you can type your response in the chat box. I'm very keen to know like how prepared you guys are for management program and whether you are eligible to be part of SNU family. So if you know the answer, what VUCA stand for, this acronym, full form, what V stand for, what U stand for, what C stand for, what A stand for. So there are 4 letters. If you know the answer, you can type your response in chat box, right? Though I can't move to that chat window right now because I'm in PPT mode. But yes, I'll later refer to see, right, what's your level of understanding. So let's see how we define these terminologies of the acronym VUCA. So volatility, the first term. Volatility refers to the speed, volume, nature, and magnitude of a phenomena that may or may not be in a pattern form. So volatility increases complexity. So in short, we can say volatility is all about increasing rate of change. You would have heard this term in the context of share market, right? We always hear like share market is quite volatile, it's hard to predict, quite freaky, all those things. So that's what volatility is all about. And the next terminology, that is uncertainty, which is less clarity about future. So uncertainty occurs when there are no concrete trends or patterns, which makes it difficult to establish what will happen next and base decision on it, right? So we don't have much clarity like how things will turn up after this, like this post COVID-19, what would be the GDP, all those things. So that is pretty uncertain, right? And then going to next term, that is complexity. Multiplicity of decision factors. Complexity describes the amount of different states a system can get into at a certain point of time. The more states a system can get into, the higher its complexity and the harder it gets to manage it. Right? So definitely our leaders and managers, they face the issue of complexity. They always have multiple states, right? So some sort of scenario analysis, right? So uncertainty, not have much clarity, but complexity, yes, we have some idea, right, how our GDP will turn up after COVID-19, but not pretty sure. So we might have n number of scenarios, n number of states to walk through to understand how our business will get affected out of this. And moving to the last terminology, that is ambiguity. Ambiguity describes a situation where multiple interpretations are permitted and all are equally valid. This makes it hard to decide what to do in order to achieve a desired outcome. So we might have multiple objectives to target, and there may be no right answer at all. So yes, there are a lot of issues. Definitely they like to reap good economic profit. At the same time, they like to be sustainable. So yes, there are some sort of ambiguity in the present context. So point is, we know we have been grappling with this complex situation, right? So what should be our approach? We want to learn certain things, and that's why analytics is there. What we want to learn, we want to model this uncertainty about the demand, supply, like a different level of resources available, all those things. So we want to model or to mathematical model that so that we can see what might be the possible outcome after COVID-19. And apart from that, definitely we'll have to predict outcomes for competing policies or you say competing strategies. So we might have a number of options, alternatives to go for, right? Whether we source inputs for different requirements locally, globally, all those issues. So yes, we want to build that model which can predict outcomes for these alternatives. And at the end, definitely we would like to ultimately, as a manager, our objective is to take appropriate course of action on the face of risk, right? So we definitely, with the help of analytics, we want to respond on that. What is the best course of action? So overall, we can say uh, we would like to develop some sort of decision support system, right, which can work in this VUCA environment, in this VUCA world. So that's why it's very important and relevant topic to discuss about. So let's see how we define analytics. So analytics is the discovery, interpretation, and communication of meaningful patterns in data. And data can be classified into structured versus unstructured. And how we differentiate these two, you can see this diagram there. In case of structured data, it can be displayed in rows, columns, and it is normally we find in the form of relational databases. Vis-a-vis unstructured data can't be displayed like this, right? And what kind of data we can keep in this structured form, like numbers, date, string, etc., etc. And in case of unstructured, it could be image, audio, video, maybe some sort of feedback which we receive from our customers, a client, that is unstructured data. And if you see this here, definitely unstructured data is only 20% share, which unstructured is 80%. So it's very important to understand the nature of data and how we can drive insights out of that. So definitely more of unstructured data which we have at our disposal to deal with. So that's the complex part of analytics, right? We have to deal with audio, video, maybe some written messages, some feedbacks, all those things, emails. So maybe going through complaints, what sort of complaints which you have received over the years, all those things. So data is definitely, we know data is the oil of the current digital economy. That's very important. So this analytics can be applied where we have availability of rich recorded information. So I think this is must to remember. In order to apply analytics, we should have access to data. That's why we encourage to keep data, keep record, and always go for reporting and all for transparency purpose. So without data, definitely we can't implement analytics tools. And as we know, like what we can't measure, really we can't improve that, right? So that is the basic fundamental thing. So it's important to understand like and measure that maybe a particular performance parameter, and then we can do some sort of benchmarking, like how a firm is doing right over a particular issue, over a particular performance objective, and then we can take corrective actions accordingly. So that measurement and that correction is very important. So once we have the data, so what we do with that? So we apply certain statistics-based tool, operational research, and computer programming to quantify performance. So purpose of statistics to process the data and to go for some sort of conditioning of data. Maybe something might be missing, right? Data might be having a lot of noise, all those things, and try to understand what kind of distribution our data has, so that we can apply appropriate method and build model accordingly. So statistics is for that purpose. Operations research is to build mathematical model, right? To convert this maybe uncertainty into some sort of mathematical model, like whether it is related to demand or supply. We try to model it, right? So that is the job of operations research. So you should have good hold of these three fields. And computer programming for what? Once we have that model, to train that model, right? To train and to optimize different parameters, right? Parameters which are there in our model, right? We need programming because we know as a human being we have limited capacity to process data. So definitely we need computer to help us in performing that and to develop a robust model which we can use, right, for our objective. So the next is I'd like to take your views on poll. So like take your views on which type of data is more critical for organizational performance. So before moving ahead, I request you all to put your response in chat box. What do you think? Which kind of data is more critical? Two kinds of data, structured and unstructured. Actually, in structured data, generally we take bird eye view of our customers, right? And in case of unstructured data, we try to understand something a little deeper, like deeper kind of insights about their customers, understanding their feeling, all those things. So what is definitely more critical and important for organizational performance is unstructured data. Like we have, when we have feedbacks from our customers or client, for how to process it, to find out what's really critical, what is really critical firms should focus upon to get some sort of competitive advantage over competitors, right? So unstructured data is more critical, more important, more crucial and vital. So that is the complex part, how to read the text, right? That's why we have different software like text mining, for text mining, etc., etc. NLP, natural language processing, how to convert that maybe feedback into like technical terms, all those things. So in order to address various needs of our clients, and we know because need is the mother of invention, so analytics has evolved to address various needs of clients and customer. So how it has evolved, you can see if you plot it against how much value created by a particular analytics tool versus the level of difficulty faced to implement that. And on x-axis, you can also consider even time, because these tools has evolved over the years, right? So this field of analytics has evolved from merely having focus on information gathering and processing to optimization. So the first basic tool which we use is related to descriptive analytics, where we try to address questions related to what happened and why, what happened in the past, right? So the focus is simply on, like, maybe if we have data on historical data on sales figure, so whether the sales is going up, going down. So mainly we use a lot of visualization tool for this, for description of various events. So because we are talking about healthcare sector. So in case of healthcare industry, I'm not sure whether you heard of, but that's very important event. That is medication error. So we generally, firms and healthcare companies would like to track that number, medication error. What's the level of error? Means medication errors. Let me describe that. What is medication error is all about? Medication error, if we unable to maybe prescribe and administer the right drug to a patient, or maybe not in right quantity, or maybe both. So we may be having right drug, but may not be right quantity. So that is medication error, right? So definitely there are many instances. FDA has reported that in USA, more than 1 lakh incidents, susceptible incidents of medication error. So definitely a big concern for healthcare industry and FDA to bring this number down, right? Medication error. So if a particular healthcare company has data over it about medication error, so that we can easily, maybe over the years, we can have some sort of plot to see whether the number is increasing, decreasing, all those things, right? And what is the distribution within, like what kind of patients might be more suffering from this problem, all those things. So that is pretty descriptive based on mostly visualization based tool. And then moving to the next, that is diagnostic analytics, where we try to address this question, why did it happen, right? So we try to dig deeper, try to find out the root cause of that. So we come some sort of, right, maybe maybe in some sort of secret agent mode, we try to investigate, right, why a particular phenomena happened, right? So what's the reason behind this? So try to maybe some sort of some deeper analysis to understand the root cause for this. And moving ahead, we have predictive analytics, where we try to address this question, what will happen, right? What will happen in future? So if we have certain processes, certain system in place, so we try to predict like the likelihood of occurring certain outcomes, maybe the effect of treatment on a patient, so that sort of thing. So definitely the predictive analytics is very important and vital element of analytics which we can use in healthcare sector, right? And the last one is prescriptive analytics, where we try to address this question, how we can make it happen. So we try to optimize maybe resources which are available in a healthcare organization. Right? So what should be the level of, like I discussed about, what should the level of PPE kit, all those ventilators. So these numbers can be optimized. And for optimization, generally we use there are a lot of heuristics, meta heuristics, etc. We use those heuristics for optimization purpose. So not necessarily we always get best solution, but yes, we generally use heuristics of different kinds, and colony optimization, taboo search, genetic algo, all those things to get maybe a maybe very close to optimal sort of solution, right? And in a maybe in adequate time. So time is also concerned. We like to run a algo which will give a solution in a reasonable time window. So that's why we at times we compromise with the optimal solution and we go by maybe the next one, next to optimal, because it is maybe giving response in a quick time. So how this has evolved, and when we talk about its application, where we use this, so who is using analytics? I think this question needs to be reframed. Who is not using analytics, right? Because if you go to any sector, if you will definitely find the application of analytics must be there. And what's the reason behind this? You can see I have highlighted in this advancement in technology, and then better and cheaper storage options, stronger computation power, distributed and shared processing capabilities, more algo, make it easier to apply analytics. So these are the reasons why which is such a popular tool, and why definitely different industries, different sectors going for it. So as far as its application is concerned, definitely it's widely used in different sectors, like in retail. Retail is no more about buying low and selling high, like that's kind of opposite model, where the focus is after the entry of these e-commerce giants like Amazon, Flipkart, etc. The focus is on customer intelligence. Try to understand customer psyche, what's liking and disliking of customer through definitely going through a lot of unstructured data, big data, or let's say, right, using analytics. So that's the need of R to focus on customer intelligence. That should be the core focus of retail in order to get competitive advantage over competitors, right? And in case of manufacturing, also widely used the use of robotics and automation are streamlining the supply chain, right? Use of various technology, you would have heard of IoT, right? All those things. Whereas some industries struggle to generate value from IoT, manufacturers are adept at using sensor data to expose product flows and optimize heavy machinery maintenance. So using this analytics, companies can go for some sort of maintenance planning, right? They can go for even predictive maintenance. In spite of having scheduled maintenance, they can put sensors on machines, right? So that they will stop the machine only when there is a need for that, right? So in that way, firms can improve efficiency of their facility. And then it is also very much in use in banking sector. Like you can see AI-driven chatbots. So chatbots are used for customers, for interaction with customer, and that interaction data, that unstructured data can be used for fraud detection, right? So likewise, you'll find application of various digital technologies and analytics. Moving to the next sector, that is energy. And in energy, it's used for forecasting which sort of technology should be used to take out the energy, right? Because there are various options. If we focus on renewable energy, whether we go for wind, solar, etc., various technology within even solar, if you focus on a particular technology. So which technology we should focus upon, from where we can expect better output, right? Better yield. So we can use this there. And ultimately, the theme of the day is healthcare, right? So how much value we can drive by using analytics in healthcare. That's most important to understand. So digital information is accelerating improvements in areas such as diagnostics, care, monitoring, AI being used to improve even cancer detection. So digital tools bring the promise of more precise diagnosis and better targeting of treatments for predictive models. I'll discuss a little bit in detail in subsequent slides about how we can use predictive models, like what should be the focus of predictive models when we apply it in healthcare sector. But before that, I think it's important to understand why this is really a hot topic of the day, right? Why we are using healthcare analytics in healthcare. What is this potential, right? Whether it can be a lifeline for this particular industry. So let's move to the next slide. What is healthcare analytics is all about, how we define it. So healthcare analytics is a branch of analytics that focuses on offering insights into hospital management. Hospital management means what should be the capacity of hospital, capacity of OPD, waiting time, how many OTs should be there, operation theater, how many ventilators we should have, all those things. Like, so managing the resources of hospital in that way, and then keeping patient records, tracking cost, diagnosis, etc. So definitely you can see this analytics can capture two kinds of data here. One is admin-related issues like related to cost, etc., and hospital management, and the second is related to patients. You can say clinical data, right? So there are only two kinds of data which can drive and further process to take out certain insights from that. And the field covers a broad swath of the healthcare industry, offering insights on both macro and micro level. Means we can focus on maybe a population, spread of like COVID-19. You can address issues like this, or maybe we focus on micro level on a patient, particular health facility. So yes, it can be widely used in that way. And ultimately, our objective is to understand the patient's requirement and make them happy. That is ultimate objective of using any such definitely expensive tools, right? So what is the ultimate objective of using analytics is to make our patients happy, like to satisfy them. And how we can make them happy, that's definitely one thing we have to understand, how we can make them happy, satisfied. So healthcare systems can improve the efficiency of the organization in terms of administrative tasks. So one dimension could be improving the efficiency of admin, and the important parameter on which we focus in this is on scheduling of patients, or you can say assignment of right doctor to right patient. So we do some sort of matchmaking in this, right? So we kind of feed the data related to doctors expertise, experience, etc., and on the other hand we see what's patient requirement, patient history, and all those things. So after having that matchmaking, we try to kind of allot a particular doctor or clinician to a particular patient so that we can get the best output out of this process, right? So that is the like how we can improve the efficiency of the system, right? So treatment success rate, all those things can be improved by this. And analytics can help in keeping an updated record of a patient's health. Healthcare facilities can even remind patients to maintain a healthy lifestyle and provide lifestyle choices based on other medical conditions. So not only these administrative issues can be handled, but yes, apart from that, patients can be provided these sort of tips to be healthy, like what sort of lifestyle they should follow. So based on some continuous real-time data, we know there are a lot of like apparatus available. We can use those devices to provide to feed that real-time data, right? And based on that, analytics will provide some sort of recommendation, like what should be done in order to achieve a certain improvement, a certain target in that way, right? So that's the way health in healthcare industry we can make patients happy using analytics. And the tool which is used to achieve this service excellence in healthcare industry, and the most prevalent tool is predictive analytics. The predictive analytics, how we define it, the use of data, statistical algo, and machine learning techniques to identify the likelihood of future outcomes. Definitely outcomes can be positive, means right, the condition of patient should improve, and maybe negative, how we can avoid negative uh, outcome of patients, so that future outcomes we can predict. So some sort of like we can map this outcome on some sort of distribution, like what is the probability of occurring at one particular event. So that is definitely conditional on the history of patients, what kind of treatment we are giving, all those things. So that is quite advanced. I definitely won't touch that, but just giving some overview and what sort of data we take into this. You see this picture, like time to time, whatever examination, diagnosis process data we generate, and then laboratory results, etc., etc. So these are the data which we feed into this, and the ultimate goal is to go beyond knowing what has happened to providing a best assessment of what will happen in the future, and creating some sort of risk factor, right? Risk factor for whom? For those patients. Like, so ultimately our objective is to, you can see what is the objective of creating risk score through this statement given by Association of American Medical College. Coming to them, across all models, the identification, stratification, and management of high-risk patient is central to improving quality and cost of outcome. So how we can use this? We can use this to identify and create some sort of strata. Yes, the focus should be more on high-risk patient vis-a-vis other lot, so that we can deploy resources accordingly, and definitely in that way we can save cost. So that's the wonderful use of predictive analytics to save cost and improve the quality. And when we combine analytics with machine learning, definitely we can expect better results. So machine learning provides more precise, faster data-driven insights to help clinicians team to achieve better outcomes for the patient, right? So we know that data-driven is the need of R. The data-driven decision making is considered definitely revolutionary to improve the process of decision making, to improve the efficiency of that process, and definitely timeliness as well. So when made accessible to the right person, means doctor in this case, the right place, point of care, right, at the right time, real or near real time. So it's pretty similar to like the objective which we set for supply chain optimization. So machine learning enabled models can give clinicians more pertinent information to support their patient's care decision. So what sort of decision we feed and what's the outcome of that you can see in this diagram, like patients having this inpatient alerting, so you can get sort of alert real time, so you can connect to different IoT devices, you can connect the patient data with maybe the facility, so that alert can be created as and when required. So likewise for patient profiling, right, population health management, if we have been observing some sort of maybe deficiency of certain nutrition in a given population, so you can take action against that. So all those, they are the kind of where we can use this, and definitely to the first one, clinical decision support system. So that's the ultimate objective of analytics, to design a robust decision support system to help our doctors to take very informative, calculative decision in timely manner. And it's very important to understand this protection and prevention go hand in hand in the world of health management. So you can see how important the protection is, because we know prevention, we always go by like prevention is better than cure, right? So that's the, we can follow that philosophy using predictive analytics. So here, time for the next poll. So let me take your views on this. Machine learning in healthcare is frequently compared to self-driving cars. Do you think that comparison is a fair one? So let me know your views on this. So you can type your response, you can post your response in chat box. Do you think that it's like using going for self-driving mode when we use clinical decision support system? Can we replace doctor, right? Using maybe robotics, using robots and all. Is it possible, do you think, up to that extent we can go for? Or we can take that much risk? Maybe I'll take pause for a while and then I'll continue. So meanwhile, you can type your response in the chat box. So I like to say here like this, when we use analytics in healthcare, the objective is to not replace doctor, but to assist doctor, right? It's definitely, it's not like going in autopilot mode. It's not at all like that. So one should not be afraid of this. We are just developing capabilities in this area to assist doctor to take better decision and timely decision, right? Because you know, when a patient is going through some treatment and all, and maybe under some risky situation, so it's very important to take right decision at the right time to save the life. So that's our objective is. So not to move to that fully automated mode. That's not at all our objective is. So moving ahead, how machine learning in healthcare works, right? So how we can use machine learning, you would have heard of this term, like now it's kind of buzzwords, very much in use in different industries. So process of analyzing a data set for patterns. So like this is the first step, right? We analyze what sort of pattern is there in our data and then apply those patterns to new data. It's pretty simple, straightforward process that allows a model to offer a prediction of the likelihood of defined clinical outcome of interest, right? We discussed about that outcome. What is outcome of interest, right? So we try to predict that using this. And after the initial deployment of a machine learning model, it should be repeatedly retrained as the data set evolves and grows, and whether it is brought to a new setting should be retrained on that specific data set to ensure applicability to local patterns. So that's why I'm not sure whether you have observed these days a lot of research going on to fight against COVID-19, And this data set, you can see it might be taken from China because we are having enough data from that place, right? But when we use that data taken from China to US, definitely we need to retrain our model. Why we have to retrain? Because the context is different. Maybe the demographic profile, genetic profile of the patients might be very different. So might be different values of parameters uh, might be there in our model. So we need to retrain our model in order to calculate maybe some sort of different values for our parameters, right? On the basis of which we like to predict the outcome, right? So that's a very important thing to remember. And when we talk about the context and new setting, etc., so we see some sort of what we do. We generally go for some sort of mapping. We see what are the similarities, what are the differences in these two contexts, US versus India, right? In terms of like genetic profile and all those things, demographic profile, maybe some weather-related data, all those things we can feed into a system, and then we see whether our outcome is sensitive towards that or not. So some sort of sensitivity analysis we try to conduct in order to make our model very robust, right? So that's what we do in this. And when we talk about how AI can be used in this, so AI is also like artificial intelligence you would have heard of. So there are different tools having different level of difficulty in implementation and adoption. So AI definitely it includes machine learning, computer vision, NLP, and forecasting optimization, etc., etc. So there are kind of a bunch of tools which are there under the purview of under the umbrella of AI. It can unleash the full potential of data to improve population health and solve some of the greatest healthcare challenges. This necessary evolution will enable healthcare organizations to, so definitely whenever there's a need, so there's an invention for that, right? So considering the emerging needs of the patients of the healthcare system, we have various AI tools customized to meet the requirement and to improve the performance, like in terms of improve patient outcome, empower physicians with more accurate diagnostics and targeted prevention capability. So with the help of AI-based tool, that interface, that platform, what we can expect that we can customize, we can some sort of personalize our treatment. So that's really wonderful. Like it's part of investing resources and doing a lot of experiment in that way and putting the life of the patient on risk. So definitely one should go for this, right? To have very personalized approach of prevention. And apart from patient, definitely firms can control cost, can reduce operational cost through, right, various interventions at the hospital level in terms of resource management, like optimizing staff resource, how much is staff we need at a particular point of time. So under COVID-19, like what sort of a resource we need, staff should be definitely trained in certain things, right? So if we have some sort of constraint as far as availability is concerned, so how we'll manage all those things. So that's part of optimization, like take action to reduce the number of hospital readmissions. So that is the like kind of this can be one of the objective to reduce the number of readmissions, because in the case of readmission generally what we expect, we won't get that much value, that much returns from the patients which are coming again for the same problem, right? So that's the way we can control cost, because we have limited resource, we have limited number of beds, ventilators, OT, etc., etc. So we definitely don't want to kind of engage those resources to the same patients from whom we are getting lesser returns. So in order to implement analytics, what we really need, we need analytics is all about software, right? And to support software, what we need is hardware, right? And as I mentioned about, to run analytics based platform, we need data, and from where we'll get the data, right? To get the data, we need IoT based, IoT supported devices. It's also known as like internet of medical things, right? So IoT in healthcare enables us to connect a multitude of people, things with smart sensors such as wearables and medical devices. I think you would have by now exposed to these wearables like watch and etc. To capture certain basic parameters like temperature, body temperatures, and maybe heartbeat, etc., etc., and environments like the weather, etc. So these sensors in IoT devices, these these sensors are there to connect various devices and to develop some sort of smart healthcare system, right? To capture patients' vitals and other data in real time. So that's the like utility of this, to capture data in real time, right? So that you can take timely action and you can save the cost and life. So then data analytics technologies, including machine learning, AI, can be used to realize the promise of value-based care. So we can drive value out of this analytics only when we have support of this physical infrastructure, right? IoT-based devices and all. So I hope you understand uh, the relevance of IoT, right, and the importance of it. And objective is definitely using means some sort of integration of ICT, that is information and communication technologies, with analytics can do wonders, definitely. So that is the kind of need of our, and you can say that is success mantra for any kind of business in the present time. And again, this is just kind of some sort of repetition. What we can expect out of this, but that is improvement in operational performance and improvement in clinical performance, means that how we can make the system more efficient and how we can improve the kind of satisfaction level for our patients. So let's move to the last poll. So let me take your views on this. So can we leverage the potential of analytics only in big setup? So that is a research question, even which I have been pursuing these days. Definitely, it's quite wider in that way, but I have taken just part of that project. So because when we talk about implementation, means adoption and implementation of analytics-based tools, we need software as well as hardware, right? So I hope you can understand its requirements, right? And what sort of capabilities we should have in order to implement it and then take full advantage of it to leverage that, right? So what do you think? Again, definitely it's not that easy to attempt, and though its question is designed in very straightforward way, but yes, you can think over it. It's kind of food for thought. As per my understanding, definitely it's not that easy to consider this option of technological advancement for small healthcare units, right? But yes, they can definitely go for some sort of vanilla product, right? Not necessarily customized one. Vanilla means some sort of standard software of analytics. But what is really difficult for small units is to have those hardware in place, that is having IoT based devices, right? So that is quite investment intensive, I should say. So that yes, maybe some sort of support might be required for that. So yes, so that's definitely a issue which need to be dig deeper, right, to understand like the degree of adoption, the level of adoption and implementation, and definitely its influence on performance. So if anyone of you like to contribute up, like definitely can partner with me in this. More than happy to have any discussion around it. So let's, I think, move to the next slide. So you have been wondering, I think, since the beginning of the talk, can we use analytics in healthcare and in particular to fight against COVID-19, right? That's the biggest issue of the present time. Can we cope up with this disease? Like, so yes, now I'm going to share the findings of few scholars from MIT, Sloan School of Management. So they have been pursuing some research. So here are the findings, key findings. So not published in a standard journal, but yes, some sort of article which is there on that. So according to their findings, machine learning and analytics can be used for predicting patient outcomes. So what they did, so they definitely have gone through the literature and the kind of models which is already available, right? So what they have found that the existing model definitely not very sound, not very robust in that sense. The factor considered for prediction is only age and symptoms. So definitely there's a scope for improvement. So what these scholars have considered, you see a range of factors like gender, age, blood pressure, temperature, etc., cardiac frequency, to assess the risk, mortality, a risk factor which we discussed, like in that particular slide in predicting analytics. So that's that's their first finding, and then second finding is projecting the spread of COVID-19. So they developed some sort of new epidemiological model called Delphi to predict infection, hospitalization, and deaths. So I'll definitely provide you the link for this also, so you can go through this. So I think it's very important to understand these models, and we can also pursue some sort of research in similar direction in the context of India, because as I mentioned, if context is different, so there might be different factors which need to be considered, right, to have a robust model in place. So that's the, and then they've also used for optimization of ventilators, like how these ventilators, because we are having limited number of those. So how these ventilators need to be allocated to different states when they're competing for each other to get this right in this difficult time. So maybe they are some sort of coming up with the peak of COVID-19 might be different in different states. So they are using that information to optimize the requirement of ventilators. And then finally, for making the testing of COVID-19 very easy, very convenient. So they are using this for that. So they have extracted data from Morocco, and they have developed some sort of process like to make it very easy. So considering certain parameters like taken from patients, on the basis of which we can say yes, this is kind of chances of having COVID-19. So and they have achieved, I think, good accuracy level, that is 90% accuracy rate they have achieved. So this is really positive sign, and I hope in time. So what as if you see if you focus on their findings, as of now, the focus is just on some sort of prediction and control, not on treatment. But still, the research work is going on treatment side as well. So I hope in time to come we'll have some positive outcomes on that front as well, where we can treat patients using AI. All from my side. Before closing this session, I have one more like sort of food for thought. Can we use analytics to decide how ventilators need to be allocated among patients? What I mean, so when we have, for example, when we have two ventilators and three patients. So what should be the approach? What should be the algo to decide whether we should based on purely economic criteria? We should consider the ethical angle, a combination of that. What should be the approach? What should be what kind of model we should develop in order to address that? I hope this is quite a realistic problem. You can see for this case of COVID-19, right? Because ventilators definitely a big concern, big constraint in that way. So that's all from my side for today's session. So now let me move to your queries. So for that poll, where I mentioned about comparing the use of analytics with in healthcare with self-driving car, somebody has written yes, can be compared, yes, to some extent, but not fully. Definitely we can't hand over a patient to machine, right? And that is not acceptable to even doctors. They might take on their ego. So, but I think I have received responses. Definitely this is an emerging field, and I'm also working on it, right? Exploring this, considering the need of R.
Hi, Sandeep. There are a couple of queries, at the bottom of the
Yeah,
chat.
Rajat, can you please navigate me through that? Or
Yeah,
maybe you can.
yeah. The last couple of queries I see is one is that we do not have enough data on COVID-19. So how useful would it be to you kind of use analytic? What is the scope? And also questions about what are the other methods that we can use in this COVID crisis.
So as far as data availability is concerned, definitely the research which I just shared, see, those researchers, scholars of MIT, they have used data which is coming from China, right? So, and because definitely China have gone through long time in that phase, so there's enough data for that. Likewise, they have also considered data from Morocco and all, and then once they have data from those places, then they can compare the context, and maybe that model which they have derived based on that data can be customized or maybe manipulated as per US requirements, as per US conditions, I should say, right? So that's definitely that's the biggest concern, and without data we can't run any analytics based model. That's a harsh reality, and that we should have to accept that, because that is something which is unprecedented, right? So the level of crisis which we have been going through, we never ever. So definitely we can't take the data for any other epidemic, because it's a pandemic, right? So, and we can use that data to to project the spread of this and predicting the outcome of patient for this. So yes, that is the, so whatever data we have, like definitely we have only down a couple of months. So with the use of that data, we try to model that, like percent outcome and the rate of spread and all those things. See, we use definitely ICT based technologies and all, like RFID to track the level of inventory in a supply chain and all those things. So that is very much in use, and we have long history in that. And healthcare is definitely the field which has recently grabbed the attention, and we like to definitely improve the quality of healthcare system. We like to drive more value. So in spite of focusing on volume, if you see in India in healthcare system, the focus is on volume. We like to address like good number of patients so that we can have higher returns and all those things. So in spite of focusing on the value which we can drive for a particular patient, so with the use of analytics, which we are expecting, definitely India is definitely lagging in big way in that. But definitely I'm pretty optimistic in time to come, because that's the kind of way to move forward. Like in order to drive value, so to change the focus of from volume to value, that's the way. I don't see there's any other way to change the focus. Like, so that should be the core focus in order to get the competitive advantage. And definitely companies have realized that, means healthcare companies have realized that, okay, that's the need of R, but they have been struggling with kind of some sort of even on investment front. So even if they make investment, then maybe some maintenance related issues. And definitely I have gone through various reports and all, the issue of kind of whether we have enough human resource available for that, right? So that's
And
one
uh,
good thing. Like definitely we can develop capabilities, and Shiv University and School of Management definitely incorporated analytics in big way in all the courses. So you'll those who are kind of aspiring to be part of this family, they can, that's a big, I think, positive sign, right? We are very ready for that objective, right? To make you analytics savvy, like, so you can work in that environment and you can deliver value to the society.
we
So we
have
are very
another
much here.
comment
Yeah.
um, where we feel that secondary data from China is not reliable. There are a few reports in which clashes. The few reports which clash with each other regarding the mortality rate and the infection
So
spread.
yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, I can see that question coming from Pawan. See, issue related to reliability of data and all, definitely kind of subjective, and maybe in that way we can't really technically handle that, right? So when we use statistical based tool for data processing and conditioning, definitely we don't have much hold on data authenticity, right? We can do some checks here and there, but yes, the reliability, we can't change the data like drastically. You can do some conditioning. Conditioning, I hope you understand, right? Some little bit changes we can make. We can drop certain maybe certain noise and all, but yes, we can't replace it. So whatever we have to work with that. So that's why many of these researchers might be waiting and watching the situations and taking the data on real time and maybe optimizing their models and all. So that's the way to proceed. So I received one more query from Kumkum. I need reaction from seeing its feasibility. So that's what I was talking about. That's even my agenda. Like, so I'd like to pursue research on the feasibility of these technologies, whether we talk about ICT plus analytics in firms of different size, in healthcare companies of different size. So that's the definitely issue which I'd like to pursue. And we have to see, like, because if we go and conduct a survey and check what's the level of adoption of ICT and analytics in Indian companies, Indian healthcare companies. So I think that's very interesting thing to analyze. And I know there's ample scope for improvement and consultancy and all those things. And that's why, like, this medication error in US, you'll find this kind of data of medication error, right? In India, you'll hardly find like healthcare this service providers, they are managing any data on medication errors and its a kind of impact on patients health. So you won't find much data on that. But yes, those who are really leading that this business from the front and taking responsibility, you'll find the data related to medication error, what's the level of medication error. Mansi has written the death rate presented by them.
Hello.
Yes, it doesn't adds up the kind of death rate. So yes, I think there are a lot of issues related to data coming from China, but I think we can't do much on this. In my presentation, in the last slide, you will find my email ID. So if you have any other query, you can mail me on my email ID. So thank you all for making this, for attending this webinar. And we'll definitely continue with this webinar series. Spark will have more such discussion on such very relevant and pressing issues of the current time. So thank you all for making this.
Thank you so much, Sandeep, for this wonderful presentation. It definitely raises questions, and it definitely also points to certain trends, which, even if they are not, to be accepted the way they are prima facie, they do definitely. And of course, everything, whether it be technology, whether it be politics, is taken with a pinch of salt. But definitely, there's a huge potential which cannot be denied. And I do believe that we are making progress there. So, a fantastic presentation. And you can also write to us about topics that interest you. We do have a lineup, but we are very we look forward to your suggestions also with regard to the kind of topics that you would like to have a discourse on. Once again, thanks everyone.